Did you ever think you were overweight growing up? Like you were fat and all your friends were thin? And then you look back at old pictures and think, wow, I really wasn't fat at all. I wish I could go back in time and tell myself that. This happened to many of us who were children of the skinny mini 70s where stick thin was the look, and if you didn't fit in, you were fat. Today, Michele Acerra is our guest. She grew up in the 60s and the 70s and was exposed to a lot of limiting beliefs, like a lot of us. And a lot of us went on diets before we were even teenagers and began a life of going from one diet to the next. Michele shares her weight story with us today and how she turned all the pain and failure of the past into success by shifting her mind. She has released 35 pounds in the last few months, but a ton of limiting beliefs and self-criticism. So come on in and join us and hear Michele's inspiring story on the Thin Thinking podcast. Did you know that our struggle with weight doesn't start with the food on your plate or get fixed in the gym? 80% of our weight struggle is mental. That's right. The key to unlocking long-term weight release and management begins in your mind. Hi there, I'm Rita Black. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, weight loss expert, best-selling author, and the creator of the Shift Weight Mastery process. And not only have I helped thousands of people over the past 20 years achieve long-term weight mastery, I am also a former weight struggler, carb addict, and binge eater. And after 2 decades of failed diets and fad weight loss programs, I lost 40 pounds with the help of hypnosis. Not only did I release all that weight, I have kept it off for 25 years. Enter the Thin Thinking podcast where you too will learn how to remove the mental roadblocks that keep you struggling. I'll give you the thin thinking tools, skills, and insights to help you develop the mindset you need, not only to achieve your ideal weight, but to stay there long term and live your best life. Hey there, come on in. I have a question for you. How many times have you joined Weight Watchers? I'm just laughing, nothing against Weight Watchers, but growing up, Weight Watchers was just like the go-to, right? When you had gotten out of control, going back to Weight Watchers. I remember the little white folder. Remember, if those of you who went back in the early days of Weight Watchers, or well, in the 70s and 80s, and there was this little white foldable folder before they went digital. And every time week you would go in and you would get weighed in and they would put your weight on the card. I went to Weight Watchers twice in high school, once when I was 15 and once when I was 17. And I remember this really clearly because it's cold in Seattle, especially in the winter. It's not as cold as some places, but it's pretty darn cold. And I would get weighed in every week on a Thursday, and I was weighing in the evening. And so I starved myself all day long, and I remember wearing really light summer pants and a light t-shirt and hardly anything else to go get weighed in, even in the dead of winter. And of course, in order to sustain myself through starving myself, in order to weigh less on the scale, I would eat a couple of Snicker bars because they didn't weigh that much. Now there's so many diets to go on and off, and that's why it's even more important for you to come to my upcoming free masterclass that I want you to attend Wednesday, the 26th of April, 2023. I am hosting this masterclass called How to Break Through the Weight Struggle Cycle so that you can release weight consistently and permanently. We all know how to lose weight. We've been Weight Watchers. It's not about that, though. You know how to lose weight. We know what to eat, how to exercise. But really, what's driving our habits and our beliefs is in our mind. And we need to learn to work with our mind effectively. And in this masterclass, I am going to show you some really powerful shifts that you can make immediately to start getting some traction, moving forward, and getting consistency so you can feel empowered and break through that old struggle cycle and feel successful. Now, if you're hearing this past the date of April 26, 2023, fear not, there is always something in the show notes there for you, some sort of free, wonderful offer that you can take advantage of. So, whether it's before April 26th or after, please go to the show notes and please sign up. I look forward to seeing you in the masterclass. And now I'd like to introduce you to Michele, who is currently in my membership. She's a graduate of the fall 2022 shift, and she has released 35 pounds so far, but so much more than that. I think you're going to find her story very inspiring. So let's get started. Hello, Michele, and welcome to the Thin Thinking Podcast. We are so happy you are here today.
Happy to be here, Rita.
Thank you. I'm a little out of breath. Michele and I were laughing because we were both, she closed her door because of her granddaughter, and I had my dog. And we were like, okay, we need to get rid of all distracting factors before we start this interview. So Michele is here to discuss her journey, her weight release journey. It's been an inspiring journey to watch and have you be on because you've gone through so many amazing mental shifts, Michele. But before we dive into that part of the journey, I would love for you just to share with us, some of your earlier life and how you struggled because you started struggling pretty early on, right?
Oh yes. I've been overweight all my life since a child. I can never remember not being overweight or thinking about my weight. Even at the times when I was somewhat thinner, I was worrying about gaining weight back or thinking I was heavier than I was. I look at pictures of myself sometimes when I was 16 or 17. I thought I was so fat. And I was, a little on the chunky side, but I wasn't severely overweight at that point. Even when I was 7 or 8 years old, I can remember being in school, and every year the nurse would weigh and measure all the children, and then they would call down to the office everyone who was outside of the accepted weight range, I guess. And back then, it was in the 60s, there weren't as many overweight children then that I can remember. In a class of 40, maybe there were 5 or 6 of us. And of course, when we all got up at the same time and left, everyone knew why. And, some kids would be snickering, not all, but some. And then we'd get a lecture from the nurse about how, we should exercise more, don't eat ice cream every day. And I can remember thinking, I don't eat ice cream every day. Why does she think that? And being handed a sheet for a diet that, an 8 or 9-year-old wouldn't even know where to begin.
Did they ever talk to your parents about that? Like, did they ever?
No,
they were just sort of like shaming you and saying, you're not, you need to behave and here's a diet.
I never spoke to my parents about it. I felt ashamed of being overweight, even at the age of 8 or 9 or 10, knowing that I was overweight. And I didn't really know what to do about it at that age. I mean, I was as active as any other child. I rode my bike, I played games, but I do remember we drank a lot of soda back then. We drank soda like it was water. There was always soda in the house. And of course, Italian food, pasta. But by the time I got to high school, 7th, 8th grade, then I wanted to go on a diet. And I think I was in the 7th grade or 8th grade when I joined Weight Watchers for the first time. And the summer before high school, I lost probably 25 or 30 pounds with a friend. We both went to Weight Watchers. And, high school, I did manage to keep my weight in a more reasonable range, like say 150 pounds to 160 pounds, where I was wearing a size 14, let's say. And I didn't eat a lot. I remember eating very little to stay that weight. I remember thinking I ate a lot less than everyone else, people that were thinner than me. I had friends that were walking around with a donut in their hand in school, and I would be appalled to put a donut in my mouth, especially in front of someone else. But that was high school. And then, I met a guy when I was in high school who I actually married. We met when we were a junior and a senior in high school. We're still married. We're going to be married 47 years this year.
Oh,
And we went
congratulations.
thank you. We went to the
I
seniors
didn't know
apartment.
you met your husband in high school. That's so
I did.
sweet.
Met my husband in high school. And I wanted to get married. So I didn't go right to college. I went to a college level secretarial course, got a
Uh-huh.
job at the United Nations. That was my first job. And
How
I
cool.
remember tasting a lot of different foods there. Croissants. When no one else was eating croissants, we had croissants in the cafeteria. Scottish shortbread because they had a whole, and I put some weight on eating all that stuff that I had never tasted before. And then the wedding was coming around when I was 21. And then I had to go on a diet again. So I joined Weight Watchers. And, there were many Weight Watchers experiences in between there. That seemed to be my diet of choice, Weight Watchers.
Right.
And I'm not
Hmm.
knocking Weight Watchers. It does
Yeah.
work. It's rooted in science. They might say you're not counting calories, but they're counting them for you. So
Yeah. I mean, I think it's gotten a little wacky. I mean, like, I don't
it
know.
has.
We don't need to talk about Weight Watchers or their
Right,
brand or
right,
anything like that, but
right.
I think it's a lot different than it was back in the 60s,
Yes,
70s, and
it really
80s, the
was.
way they
It was.
approached their
Mhm.
approach.
Right.
Yeah. But so you went back to Weight Watchers,
I
and did
did.
you
And
release
I
some
lost
weight for
weight
your
I
wedding?
did lose weight for the wedding, yes. I joined, I believe, in January. I got married in August. I lost about 30 pounds, I think,
Mhm.
to get into that wedding dress, and went to Hawaii for a week and I gained 8 pounds in Hawaii in a week. I know you say
Gosh.
it's not possible that I actually gained 8 pounds of fat, and I know that. But
Wow.
like I said, it's been a lifelong struggle. And then the
Mhm.
pregnancies come along and you gain weight with the pregnancies. And over the years, I developed a very big weight problem. I had two sets of twins, as you know, put on weight with those. And each pregnancy put on a few more pounds. And then after the pregnancy, I would lose some of it and go back and forth. And with five children and ultimately a full-time job when they all went to school, weight control was sort of on the back burner.
Yeah. And it is for a lot of moms. The demands of raising a family. We are so programmed to put our needs at the bottom of everybody else's as a mom. And I couldn't even
Absolutely.
imagine having five children, let alone two sets of twins, one set of girls and one set of boys, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And all of varying ages, right? They were very spaced apart. I
Yes.
don't know how you did it, Michelle.
I don't
But
need. It was a
I'm in
blur.
awe. But so then, over that time when as you struggled, it sounds like you kind of checked out. You weren't trying to release weight at that point. Then you got
Right.
to a point where you decided, okay, right, I've got to kind of take care of things. And were you kind of going from diet to diet to diet, or were you just trying to lose the weight yourself? Like, how did it
Weight
continue
Watchers was
on?
was the most prevalent one for me, but I can
Right.
remember doing Atkins back in the days when Atkins was really extreme. When you ate bacon and eggs and butter and heavy cream in your coffee and steak. Oh, what a horrible diet that was. Ooh.
Yeah, I know. I think I asked like, what are the silliest diets you've been on? And you mentioned that that was like one
Yeah,
of
yeah.
yours.
That was the
That's
only one that I think was very inadvisable. It's the only way I could put it. I remember I felt awful on
yeah,
that diet.
yeah,
But I've tried other ones. They're all variations on a theme. Don't
yeah,
eat this. You can't eat that. But Atkins to me was the most extreme.
right. Well, how do you feel like, given the fact that you have spent a good part of your life, trying to manage your weight, where do you think the diet industry has it wrong? Like, where do you feel like, how does dieting impact your relationship with yourself? You know what I mean? Like, I think,
Yeah. Um, you're almost doomed to fail. Everyone can lose weight. Everyone can't get down as far as they want to get down to, and then you're made to fail if you don't. If you can't get down to a predetermined weight, then you feel like you failed. If you can't keep the weight off, you feel like you failed. And it is very difficult to keep weight off. It's in a lot of ways it's more challenging than losing the weight. Um, you have to live differently for the rest of your life. You can't go back to the way you were before because the weight's just waiting to come back on. And it's
well,
never
I
really
know.
addressed.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, and we are, I know you are still on your weight release journey down the scale, but I'd like to
Yeah,
think that the work that you're doing now is going to lay the foundation for an easier maintenance.
I
But
think
I
so.
agree
I
with,
do think
I,
so.
but I agree with you that I think where we're led astray with just the dieting culture, I don't need to blame the industry, but I think we think we're fed this fairy tale idea that we'll lose the weight, it comes off, and then, we can go back to eating the way we were, or that we're magically cured. Whereas weight management is a lifelong relationship with yourself in a different way, where you're advocating for yourself
Yeah,
more, taking better care of yourself, and um, you are also managing something. And I think something you mentioned, because we talk about skinny people and skinny people envy, but you know, s- I have said this to many people that I think we think too that the other person, we make the skinny other person into this, person who's lucky because they don't have to manage their weight. But many, many people who are average weight or even thin are focusing on their weight in some way. I think it's an
absolutely.
illusion that
Right.
that, oh, I have to go on a diet, I have to lose weight, these other people are lucky. And I think that does us wrong, because then it makes us feel even more like the outsider, even more like we're there's something lacking in us, rather
Mm,
than the sheer fact that even beyond the diet industry, the food industry, which is out of control, is, we live in a world full of food choices, and a lot of those choices do our health harm, but they also addict our brains to the food. And even thin people, even if their metabolisms are blessed, they feel addicted to food because they're continuing to eat. Anyway, I could go on for it, but that's not what this this is about you. But I did want, because I know for you it's been painful, and you have felt like an outsider, and you have felt like,
yeah.
there's something wrong, and I definitely felt that way on my own painful struggles. So now let me ask you, how did you find out about the shift weight mastery process?
On Facebook, a friend of mine posted a link, and she didn't send it to me in particular. She just posted it in general about the free webinar that you do as an introductory. It's about a 2 hour
Yeah.
thing, and it looked interesting. And as I told you, I didn't even tell her I was going to join, because if I went in and I didn't like it, I would have just gracefully backed out and not had to not tell her about it.
Yes.
So I did check it out, and as I said, she's someone whose opinion I really value. So I went through the free webinar, and it really sounded intriguing. Um,
Had
and
you
at
ever
the end,
done hypnosis before? Like, had you
no,
ever
I
been
never did
exposed to hypnosis?
hypnosis or anything. No, I never did hypnosis.
And what did you think about hypnosis? Like, what was that
You
kind of a
know,
weird idea to you?
when I first heard that there was hypnosis involved, I had this, magical thinking going on that,
Yeah,
okay, the hypnosis is going to trick my body into losing weight.
right,
It's crazy. I don't have to do anything except follow the hypnotic signals, whatever they are.
right.
Of course, that's not what it was, but it does help you focus. It sort of makes you pay attention to yourself more. You have to give into it to start off with. You have to sort of surrender a little bit in the beginning, but then what it does, it makes you more in control of yourself,
Right.
not just
More
food.
engaged.
You're much
Yeah.
more laser focused on what's going on, and how you're influencing your environment and what you do.
Yeah.
That's what I find anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it gives you sort of an edge, and also an awareness and a mindfulness, and it allows you to connect more deeply with yourself and your true goals and
Right.
desires. Um, were you worried about the safety of hypnosis at all, or were you not? That
No,
wasn't a
I wasn't
big,
worried. I wasn't
no?
worried.
Okay. Um, well, so during the 30-day process, over the 30 days, and getting going on a weight. So the difference between like a diet and a weight mastery journey, like what was that like in that first 30 days for you?
It was intensive. I felt like I was doing something with it almost every day, involved in something. There's so much material, both online, Facebook, and your involvement is really integral to me. I mean, I was surprised how much personal involvement you had in the whole process. Pleasantly surprised.
Oh,
Uh, I tried to take advantage of all the materials every day, the daily emails, the meditations, the hypnosis. Uh, it's almost as though the eating was almost secondary. The eating obviously
mm,
had to eat within a certain amount of calories per day. And in the beginning when I heard calories, I was like, oh no, not calories. I don't know
yeah.
why.
I remember well, a lot of
Yeah.
people are resistant to the idea of tuning into your energy intake in and out. That when we kind of really look at it from a cognitive perspective, I don't
Right.
know. I mean, I think you found it more empowering than disempowering
Yes,
ultimately.
very helpful. You know when I found it the most helpful? On days when I decided, like on Christmas Day, I'm going to eat more on Christmas Day. Well,
Uh-huh.
2,000 calories is what I have to eat if I want to maintain my weight. If I ate
Right.
2,000 calories every day for 7 days, theoretically, I should be the same weight at the end of the 7 days. Now, I'm not going to do that for 7 days, but I'm going to do it today. And it takes away the guilt. It takes away the feeling that you did something wrong. You
Right.
made a conscious decision that I'm not going to lose weight today, but I am going to be losing weight overall.
Well, I think it
Great.
puts you in the driver's seat of your weight
Right, right,
release, right? So you get
right,
to make the choices of how quickly you want to release,
right,
because ultimately, again, I think I go back to that idea of dieting where it's like, okay, I've got to lose 2 pounds a week or a pound a week. And if I don't eat in this specific way, that won't happen. So our brain is then forced into this good or bad, on or off, like, oh, I was good today, I was bad today, rather than I'm choosing to release a pound this week. I'm choosing to release 2 pounds this week. I can make that happen. I am in the driver's seat. I know what to do. Because I think we forget that this is a long-term journey and there are going to be weeks where you go traveling, right? You travel and
right.
you don't necessarily want to release weight. But you also want to know how much you can eat and not gain weight. And I think we take away that power when we just are like, well, I just want to, like, I don't want to think about that. I don't want to have to worry about that. So,
Mm.
but I do think it also is kind of like a budget. You get used to it. You get used to what you need and what you don't need, and it helps you be aware. So I think that's great that you had that transition, because I do think it makes you more of an inner scientist. When we put it in the perspective of being a scientist rather than a dieter, people get it a lot more quickly. Um, so how is it being an apprentice of weight mastery rather than struggling? I mean, how has it helped you overcome obstacles, having that apprentice mindset?
Well, I didn't consider myself an apprentice at losing weight. I thought I was an old hand at losing weight. I could have told you the calories of everything without looking it up, but I
Oh, I'm
wasn't
sure.
having any success at it or any lasting success anyway. It's more being an apprentice of learning to think critically about what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you can change your behaviors. I know that sounds very new age, but it's really
No,
just as
it
simple
doesn't.
as
It sounds
like
very level-headed.
right. Yesterday was as I told you, my daughter's birthday. And, we brought a birthday cake, and in the restaurant, they cut up the birthday cake and they put this piece of birthday cake in front of me that was enough, was way too big. And I was able to just cut it in half, eat it, and then sit there and say, yeah, I had enough birthday cake. It was delicious. I had enough. And I just pushed the rest away. I wouldn't have done that before. I would have decided, okay, today I'm going to have a piece of birthday cake. And no matter how big it was when they put it in front of me, I would have eaten the whole thing.
Right.
So that was a major thing for me.
I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you.
That is great. Um, where have you been surprised in your ability to be consistent? Where, in the past you felt like you were on something off, on Waitrose, off Weight Watchers, like,
Definitely the exercise. I'm actually shocked that I don't think I've missed a day of exercise except for the week when I had COVID back in December. I have exercised every single day since then. It's become second nature. I'm retired now, so I do have more time. I don't have to worry
Right.
about getting to work in the morning. So if I get up at even if I get up at 8 o'clock, like a little bit late, I just get on my exercise bike and I'm, reading the newspaper or watching, the news or listening to one of your podcasts and just pedaling away. And as the hour goes by, I do an hour every morning. And I think it's been extremely helpful.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think it is. It's something, it just is. Again, I think so much of dieting is we're focused on exercise and food, like it's outside of us. And when you are really in control of your journey, it becomes something who you are. Oh, I'm somebody who gets
Right.
up and exercises for an hour in the morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't even think about it. Even on days when I think I'm not going to want to exercise, I exercise. It's just what I
That-
do when I get up in the morning.
That's so cool. Um, Here's a question I have for you because I know you have a family, a big family.
Mhm.
5 kids. I'm like still in awe. And you've been married for 47 years. Congratulations. That's almost 47 years. That's
Almost
huge.
love it.
But so yeah, you have people around you, you have grandchildren, you have a lot of people. How did you get them to support you? And how has that been? Like, I'm curious because a lot of people struggle with support.
I've had no problem with people supporting me. I'm the cook in the house for one thing. Nobody pushes food on me, never has really. I've
Really?
kind of been the one who brought in the sweets and baked the breads and the cookies and all that. I haven't had
Mm.
an issue with people supporting me. I pick the restaurants, as I told you. If we're going out, I look at the menu and I say, okay, this is it. They sort of count on me to pick the restaurants. They always did.
We have a couple who lives on our block. My husband is like the mayor of our neighborhood. He, walks our dog every day and he's like, he talks to everybody. And there's this couple and they're happily married. And he's like, what's the secret to your happy marriage? And the man says, well, she gets to make all the decisions, but I have just a couple of rules. It's like, let the wife make all the decisions. That's a good one. So your husband and your children and your grandchildren, when you started embarking upon this journey, were they supportive? Were they, have they become your cheerleaders? Or they're just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
everyone says
whatever.
how they're all telling me how good I look, how I've lost 34 pounds since October. So everyone is impressed. I'm impressed with myself.
Have you gotten a lot of people saying, wow, you look great, to
Yeah,
you
I have.
other than your family
Yeah.
too?
A lot of people, we went to my sister-in-law's house last month and his aunt was there and she said, wow, what have you done? You look wonderful.
Wow. So
It's nice.
and you like that. You don't
I
mind when
do.
people
Yeah,
pay
I don't mind.
attention to you.
I don't
Okay,
mind.
good for you. That's awesome. Sometimes people struggle with that, but I'm glad you don't.
Right.
I wish you could see Michelle, she's so beautiful. She's wearing this beautiful red shirt. She looks just so great. So now, how confident do you feel about keeping on going, keeping on this journey?
I feel more confident than I've ever felt before. Um, where I want it to end, I can't say yet. As I told you, I think when I get there, I'll know. I want to get to a
Mhm.
weight where I feel comfortable and where I can comfortably maintain it. That's his, maybe it's another 35 pounds, maybe it's another 45 pounds. We shall see. But I
That's
think I
smart.
can keep it up. I think I can keep it up. I I'm very encouraged by the fact that I was able to enjoy things that I like to enjoy and continue on the journey without really feeling like it was a setback in any way.
Yeah.
Like I said, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, my children's birthday yesterday. I enjoyed them, all those occasions, while I'm still, dropping weight. And
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be, oh, I can never eat this or I could never eat that. Maybe you can never eat it all on the same day. But if you do want to enjoy something, it can be done as long as you
Yeah.
work into your plan.
I love that. I think that's so true. And not all, I loved how you said that, how you can have it and you can make it happen for yourself, but maybe not all in the way it used to happen.
No.
But it, but, But the way it used to happen ended up usually making us feel sick or
Yeah,
out of balance or what have
right.
you. That's what I've learned is that when you can have that half of a piece of birthday cake, or you can
Right.
have that, um, you know, bowl of chips and just eat it and enjoy it and be very mindful of it. You get so much more out of it than you do rushing through it, feeling guilty, feeling bad, or feeling totally disconnected from it. So I know you've really taken on to cooking and being creative with,
Yes, yes.
the way you've eaten. And I think that's really helpful as well. You've kind of invested in being,
I do like
finding
to
ways.
cook. I do
Yeah.
like to
And
cook.
and you found
It's
ways to,
challenging, to try to cook things that you enjoy and that everyone else is going to enjoy, because I'm not cooking 5 different meals for everyone.
no.
Whatever I cook is what everyone eats, and no one's complained yet.
You've also just, challenged yourself to, like you said, make something that was maybe an unhealthy dish into a healthier version of
Yes.
it.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
you've done a great job doing that. And I think it's important for people to know that's possible. I
It
think a
is.
lot of people do think like they have to eat their diet food and then the rest of the family can eat whatever they want, rather than thinking of it holistically,
It's
like
not sustainable to do that. You can't
it's
live like that
not.
forever. It's just not sustainable.
And even if people in our families don't struggle with weight, they can all benefit from eating more healthfully. I mean,
Yes.
that's the truth because they might not be struggling today. There's such a thing, and it's getting very huge, as thin people being over fat on the inside. Like, so they might not weigh it, but their fat
Body
ratio is
fat.
so even though they might not be overtly overweight, their health is in jeopardy due to, an unhealthy diet,
Yes.
and lack of exercise. So you're probably an amazing role model for your grandchildren, for your daughters, for your sons, for all of your children. So, one last question, Michelle. Thank you. You've been so generous with all of your information. What advice would you give to someone who wanted to take their first steps forward as far as like just taking back their health and, going on their own weight mastery journey?
Well, take it one step at a time. Uh, be mindful. Enlist your family and your friends to be your allies. Um, nothing is absolute. You So many times you think, I could never have a piece of cake until I lose 45 pounds. Well, yes, you can. You can have a piece of cake. Don't give the food so much power. You're the one with the power.
I love that. What great advice. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being on the Thin Thinking podcast. It's been such a joy,
Thank
and it's
you.
such a joy to have you in our community.
Thank you. I'm
Uh,
enjoying it a lot. I really am enjoying it.
well, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Michelle, so much for taking the time to share your inspiring story with us. And just a reminder, it's coming up. This date is coming up. So get in the Wednesday, April 26th, 2023 masterclass. It's free. It's called How to Break Through the Weight Struggle Cycle so that you can release weight consistently and permanently. I look forward to this class. We're going to do one at 9 a.m. Pacific time and 5 p.m. Pacific time. So hopefully we're getting all of you in the UK and Australia covered as well. And it's absolutely free. The link is in the show notes. Come join us. It's going to be an amazing masterclass. And speaking of amazing, have a wonderful week. And remember that the key, and probably the only key to unlocking the door of the weight struggle, is inside you. So keep listening and find it. If you want to dive deeper into the mindset of long-term weight release, head on over to www.shiftweightmastery.com. That's www.shiftweightmastery.com, where you'll find numerous tools and resources to help you unlock your mind for permanent weight release, tips, strategies, and more. And be sure to check the show notes to learn more about my book, From Fat to Thin Thinking: Unlock Your Mind for Permanent Weight Loss.